child, you're taught about the rules and dangers to protect you from this world. As you grow, it's easier to believe in the dichotomy of things. Love, hate, pain, pleasure, good, bad, light, dark, before and after, the past and the future, inside, outside, you, me. To suggest anything otherwise becomes messy, to the point where it is deemed intolerable. But it is important to remember that even the rain that feeds the flowers could cause perilous floods, and the sunlight that warms and nurtures can rage as flames that savage entire forests. Judy had reached the point where the house was no longer tolerable. The morning where she found herself in a heap at the bottom of the stairs. Judy wanted fun and had made it quite clear. She had a plan to come and stay at the house, go get drunk, take it as it comes, and see what happens. I liked Judy. I liked the unknowing and the peril of the unknown. I wanted to learn. The plan was laid out, itemised with timed requirements of distance travelled, food, sleeping arrangements, meetups and necessary provisions for inebriation. She came with her customary drum banging on this and that topic, who, where and why, and I delighted in the details, all of them. And the stream turned into a river as we headed out of the door and into the dark, where it became a storming sea of highs and lows, crashing laughter and turbulent waves that collided and ebbed onto the shores of the sleepy town. We returned high-spirited to the house and commanded it to meet our pitch. But the unease of drowsiness and bed was calling, and the need for voices to be hushed. The truth is, you don't know what you're dealing with, she said defiantly. You need to salt the doors and be rid of it once and for all. I know you think it's harmless, but the truth is you don't know what you're dealing with, and it needs to go. She was right. I didn't know what I was dealing with, and I had given it a lot of grace. Judy reluctantly gave in to sleep and retired to bed. I awoke early the next morning and had been listening to music while preparing breakfast in the kitchen. The kitchen had sprung to life with the rhythm of the day, the sun streaming through the window and the birds were singing, when all was drowned out, all drained of colour, by the sickening, heavy and uneven thuds that descended the stairs. Judy lay in an array of unnaturally tangled limbs, with a completely lifeless and blank expression on her face. Her gaze registered me, and her mouth moved until the sound came. I was pushed. Her focus hardened. I was pushed. Later that day she had plans. She had rushed from the house with few words, negating any of visit. She called later that night in understandable annoyance. I, however, found the subject of her annoyance surprising, as I joined the dots from her inconsistent and digressive account of the preceding and subsequent events of the day. I paid good money. Okay. For what? I honestly did not know how to tug on this thread. It seemed her plans for the day were to attend a friend's bachelorette party, and a psychic medium was the highlight of the event, where all contributed payments for a reading with limited and allotted time. As soon as I opened the door, the woman started shouting, "He didn't mean it! He didn't mean it!" And then had proceeded to use the allowed and allotted time as previously stressed, to ramble on quite urgently about the house and the ghost. He's a very old ghost who is tied to the land and not the house. He goes from the back and through the kitchen frequently, and he loves to play pranks. He didn't mean for you to fall down the stairs. It was just a push. I was fearful to ask, but I did so anyway. Were you still drunk? No. She was adamant. No, I was not drunk. I felt the push on my level back. I felt someone push me. You need to salt the doors. Now I admit two things sprung to mind. The ridiculousness of it all, and the strong desire to repel what I am told to do. It is easier not to take the journey, to accept that all things are infinitely defined, and to even consider otherwise makes your head spin and ears ring. But it is the willingness to feel your way rather than assume that is the real reward. I was fascinated by the mythical legend of Arthur's Excalibur as a child. A miraculous sword that represents undeniable truth and sovereignty, made of metal so strong it is said to hold magical powers. Tempering metal is a skill of mastery, to bring the steel and hold it to almost melting point before letting it cool in still air. The process of repetition takes much time and careful consideration, so that no cracks or brittleness appear in the blade due to internal stresses. Excalibur has a counterpart, Caliburn, where whoever wields it cannot be killed or bleed. The two swords bring a balance, and in the jumble of historic prophecy, both swords become one and the same. From being drawn from a rock, and then from the hands of the lady in the lake, steel can be hardened through a similar and more extreme process, but it is only through tempering that it can become magical. It's important to remember that wherever grows a stinging nettle, nature ensures there is a dock leaf